What's up with you and Nick?
Come on, Alice. We've always been close.
We need to find Donald, and fast.
Find out about Ruth.
My instincts tell me she's not straightforward. Nini uniambi?
Yeah, she knows too much.
Dad and I were not in good terms before he passed on. It hurts like hell.
Sorry, Alice, I didn't return your call. I was held up.
I know you're a busy man. I understand.
Was just passing by. I wanted to talk to your boss.
My boss?
You have way too many bosses.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima, tutafuga mbuzi mjini.
Ukizingira shamba yako na ujenge nyumba yako ukiinua juu, hutapatana na magonjwa vile kama pneumonia.
Kisha tukuze samaki katika vidimbwi.
Kwa mkulima wa kawaida ambaye anaweka samaki kwenye vidimbwi anaenda miezi 9 hadi mwaka mmoja. Kumaanisha mfumo wetu wa kufuga samaki ni mzuri mno kwa sababu kama hapa tunavuna samaki kutoka kwa kila kidimbwi safari 2 kwa mwaka.
Ungana nasi Jumamosi saa 10:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Welcome to Nairobi, Kenya. On behalf of the Government of Kenya and the African Development Bank Group, I wish to extend a warm welcome to all distinguished guests and delegates to the highly anticipated 2024 annual meetings in Nairobi, Kenya. Kenya's desire to host the 2024 annual meeting and the 59th annual meeting of the African Development Bank Group underscores its commitment to advancing regional and continental cooperation towards an inclusive and sustainable development. The Republic of Kenya takes pride in the foresights of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, in singling out contemporary African problems of socio-economic transformation required given the existential threat of climate change. The required reforms of the multilateral development banks to be fit for purpose, scale up resources, and championing for the reforms of the global financial architecture. This is the 59th annual meeting of the African Development Bank Group and also marks the 60th anniversary of the African Development Bank. It is thus a celebration. It has a theme, African economic transformation, the African Development Bank Group, reforming of the global financial architecture. It is such an exciting theme at this time in African continent. The annual meetings will provide an unparalleled networking opportunities, facilitating strategic collaboration and partnership with key decision makers from African Development Bank Group member countries, as well as all shareholders, but also explore feasible solutions for African economies and the transformation agenda. We want to assure you all, our distinguished guests and delegates, that Kenya is fully prepared to host the event, ensuring a seamless experience for everyone. The event will be hosted at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. The historical significance of this convention center is that it hosted the World Bank and International Monetary Fund annual meetings half a century ago. That was in 1973. We look forward to welcoming you to Nairobi for what promises to be a historic chapter in our ongoing partnership with the African Development Bank Group, the African region, and the world at large. So karibu Kenya, welcome to Kenya. Asante sana, thank you very much.
Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now, we have been following up a story for you with the Kenyan President William Ruto in the United States. And today we have a story on Kenya now becoming the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to be a non-NATO ally to the United States. We have more on that story. And in business, Young and Industrious will be telling you about a young man who started a small business on selling cars and now has become a master at the age of 31 years. And sports will be following after that. That and more coming up shortly, but first, let's have the highlights. Insecurity, climate change and debt distress top agenda in talks between President William Ruto and his U.S. host Joe Biden. Fear grips those living near to Nairobi National Park as lioness scales a perimeter wall with a family dog in its jaws. War on graft. Court seizes 114 million shillings and 7 prime properties belonging to a former Nairobi County Chief Finance Officer. And the family of Joshua Cheriot Kirui, who died climbing Mount Everest, requires 25 million shillings to bring his body home. Brian Muraru is our sign language interpreter. Remember, we would love to hear from you. You can send us your comments on KBC Channel 1, on our social media pages, on Twitter, Facebook, and also Instagram, and also my social media pages. That is Cynthia Nyamai. Now, Kenya becomes the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to be a non-NATO ally of the United States, becoming the 4th in Africa after Egypt, Morocco, and Tunisia. This is part of the agreements hammered by President William Ruto when he met his host Joe Biden during his visit to the White House in Washington, D.C. The meeting of the two countries pledges to deepen relations and cooperation, particularly in security, climate change, and the scourge of debt distress affecting the continent of Africa.
The south lawn of the White House. The U.S. military information as they prepare to usher in President William Ruto, who is in a state visit to the U.S. The last such a spectacle involving Kenya was witnessed in 2003 when then President George Bush hosted the late President Mwai Kibaki. On arrival, President William Ruto and First Lady Rachel Ruto were welcomed by their hosts, President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden. And after introductions of delegations, the two leaders took to the podium for a 21-gun salute in honor of the Kenyan leader. The 3 verses of the Kenyan national anthem reverberating across the White House, followed by the U.S. anthem. The two leaders then inspected a guard of honor, referred to in American terms as a review of troops. The two leaders in a joint press conference pledging to deepen cooperation between the two nations with a greater emphasis on security, climate change and debt distress. Kenya, which continues to support peace efforts in the Great Lakes region and the Horn of Africa, will become a major NATO ally, becoming the only sub-Saharan African nation and the 4th in Africa after Egypt, Morocco and Tunisia. The deals effectively mean that Kenya will enjoy certain benefits in the areas of defense, trade and security cooperation.
And we will be discussing a range of issues from peace and security in our region, recognizing the heavy lifting Kenya is doing in supporting peace and security efforts in the Horn of Africa, in the Great Lakes region. And I want to say, Mr. President, we value the support, the friendship, and the collaboration the United States has given Kenya.
Around the world, Kenya and America are also standing united against the terror of ISIS and Al-Shabaab perpetrate in East Africa, that they continue to perpetrate in East Africa. The aggression that Russia is inflicting on Ukraine, the violence that has toppled too many democracies across both our regions.
The US also agreed to support Africa's quest to reform the financial architecture of multilateral lenders, with most countries, including Kenya, said to be under debt distress.
Across the region, Kenya and America are driving a race to the top with investments that we have and high standards for workers, technology, and environment. And we're working to ensure debt doesn't leave these critical investments and crucial investments out of reach for low and middle income countries.
That by undertaking this state visit, we will have the opportunity to discuss and to have a conversation about building global partnership and leadership around the issues that pose challenges regionally, globally, and in countries like Kenya and many others. Challenges of climate change, challenges of insecurity, challenges around debt distress. And today we have an occasion to build synergies.
And as the two leaders retreated for talks, President William Ruto called on President Biden to spearhead the renewal of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, which he says will guarantee the creation of jobs and wealth in Africa, and which comes to an end in 2025.
Mr. President, we will also be having the opportunity to discuss the investment opportunities, trade, and hopefully we will be able to persuade the United States to renew the Africa Growth and Opportunities Act that gives Africa the opportunity for access to markets.
John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
Junior secondary school teachers in the country now vow not to bow to intimidation after downing their tools. The teachers who are seeking employment on permanent and pensionable terms, citing a ruling in their favor by the Employment and Labor Relations Court, are now asking the clergy and political class to intervene after their employer, the Teachers Service Commission, failed to address their plight.
With flutes, vuvuzelas, banners and songs to march, JSS teachers in Mwingi Town took to the streets in a peaceful demonstration agitating for the employment on permanent and pensionable terms.
If you don't, we will never go to that class. We will never go to that class. We will never go to that.
It was the same script, different cast in Homa Bay County. Addressing the Teacher Service Commission, the teachers vowed to stay away from classes until their plight is addressed, saying no amount of intimidation will break their resolve.
Sisi hatuko tayari kurudi shule. Kama walimu hatapewa kazi ya kudumu, ama kama watakuwa confirmed and compensated. Tumeona watu wanaandika magazeti. Hatutaki kazi ya magazeti. We want a true circular ambayo inasema walimu wote wataajiriwa permanent and pensionable.
Sisi tumekuwa tukiambiwa mkikataa kwenda tunawafuta. Haturudi shule. Hatufanye nini? Tuajiri vile muliahidi. Miezi 12 imeshapita na imeshaisha.
We will not go back to school until TSC complies with the court orders and compensate.
Hatufai kupewa kandarasi ambazo hazistahili. Kandarasi ambazo walimu wamepewa, wanafinywa, wanadhulumiwa.
Those in Mwingi are now calling on the clergy and political class to step in and intervene.
Ningependa kuomba viongozi wote wa kidini, viongozi wote wa siasa, viongozi wote Kenya hii, tokeni msaidie walimu.
Kwa hapa hata kuomba pamoja na wazazi, mtusaidie katika vita hivi ili tuweze kusaidia hata na kizazi kijacho.
Niko na mtoto hapo grade 6 au 7 ambapo huyo mtoto haendi shule. Angalia mtoto anakaa kwa plot kwa nyumba, kama ni msichana anapata mimba, kama ni kijana anaanza kubeba hiyo bagi. Sisi wazazi sasa tunaendelea wapi?
The impasse persists to the chagrin of grade 7 and 8 learners.
Tutishwe fanya nini? Atufanye nini? Hawana tupanga. Atupangwini sasa.
Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Now to scales of justice, where the Supreme Court has given the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission the green light to seize 114 million shillings and 7 prime properties belonging to former Nairobi Chief Finance Officer Jimmy Kiamba. The 5-judge bench, led by Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, dismissed Kiamba's final attempt to appeal the Court of Appeal decision, which had affirmed the High Court's finding that he and his associates had unexplained wealth.
In putting the last nail to the coffin, a 5-judge bench of the highest court in the land, comprising Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, Smokin Wanjala, Njoki Ndungu, Isaac Lenaola and William Mouko have put Kiamba in limbo. Besides allowing EACC to hold the 114 million shillings being unexplained cash held in different bank accounts, the court also allowed the seizing of 7 multi-million prime properties. The court ruled that the assets were proceeds of corruption and economic crimes. In the case, Kiamba had moved to the appellate court seeking to overturn the High Court's decision that he had unexplained assets. In February this year, the Court of Appeal upheld the High Court's ruling in favor of EACC. Displeased by the judgment, Kiamba and his associates filed a petition at the Supreme Court seeking to overturn the court decision. He also filed an application seeking conservatory orders to stay the execution of the judgment in the guise that the petition raised a question of constitutional interpretation. However, EACC filed a replying affidavit in opposition to both the application and the petition. Kiamba is accused of having wealth that is not commensurate to his non-legitimate sources of income. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Ruth Wamboi, for that report. Now, the owners of the dog who was captured on security cameras being dragged away by a lioness in Rongai are demanding compensation from the Kenya Wildlife Service. In a chilling video that has gone viral on social media, the dog named Jessie is seen hanging by the neck from the jaws of the lioness. The incident has reignited the debate on what needs to be done to protect the lives and the property of those living along the fringes of Kenya's national parks.
At exactly 10 p.m. on Tuesday, 21st of May, this rogue lioness is captured on CCTV scaling up a perimeter wall into a compound. Moments later, she is captured scaling back up, but with a black dog in her jaws. The incident has left the owners of this home livid. Joshua works as a caretaker at the residence. He narrates his encounter with the lioness.
Kwa huo muda nilisikia mbwa wanabweka nyuma yangu. Kwenye hiyo harakati nikasema hai, nikajiuliza mbona, kugeuka nikapata kuna simba ameruka yuko ndani na tayari asha attack nini mbwa wangu. Hapo ndio nilichukua jukumu kuingia kwenye nyumba, kuchukua panga haraka, na nikashindwa nitamzuilia aje, maana yeye ni mnyama. Nikagwara kwenye bati.
Joshua says the Rottweiler named Jessie was a good dog.
Ule uchungu mimi niko nao, huyu anaitwa Laser. Aliyechukuliwa na simba ni Jessie, ambaye ni dada yake.
Where I'm standing right now is the exact same spot where the viral CCTV footage was captured of the lion climbing up this exact same wall, maybe to give you a perspective of how long the wall is. This is my height, and according to the owner of this vicinity, he says the wall is over 2 meters tall. The family says the Kenya Wildlife Service visited the home and left this trap, hoping to capture the rogue lioness should she return. According to the locals, 6 dogs have been reported missing in the past few months. Daniel Karanja, a resident of Rongai, says many wild animals roam the neighborhood.
Kwa ajili ya nature ya kazi yangu ya security, mara mingi natembea usiku. Kwa hivyo nimekutana nazo almost, I can say not almost, but kila siku. Tunakutana na wanyama, hippo, a lion, buffaloes.
The southern side of the Nairobi National Park is not fenced, creating unfettered access to the neighborhood.
So
So where I'm standing right now is the side of the National Park, the Nairobi National Park, and it is separated by the Bagathi River. Bagathi River acts as a border between the National Park and the side where people live. The Kenya Wildlife Service says a lot is being done to minimize human-wildlife conflict.
Normally, we take the traps because it's one of the safest ways that we can capture this animal. Use of a trap will ensure that the animal, is not hurt in any way. The community is also not hurt.
The latest incident adds to a dozen caught on camera in recent months. But for Joshua, the events will forever remain ingrained in his memory. His only regret is that he could have done more to save Jesse. For Prime Edition, I'm Alvin Counder.
Captivating story right there. That and more coming up shortly. I will be telling you about the appeal that the family of the Kenyan mountaineer who passed on as he was attempting to climb Mount Everest has made to the government. That and more in a few minutes.
For 60 years, the African Development Bank Group has played an integral part in Africa's socio-economic transformation. From the 27th to the 31st of May 2024, the African Development Bank Group will host its 2024 annual meetings at the Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi, Kenya. This year's theme will be Africa's Transformation, the African Development Bank Group and Reform of the Global Financial Architecture. The high-level meetings will be hosted by the President of Kenya, His Excellency Honorable Dr. William Ruto, and the President of the African Development Bank Group, Akinwumi Adesina, and will convene African leaders, development partners, private sector actors, civil society organizations, youth, among other stakeholders. This event will be live on KBC Channel 1.
Cynthia kungoja kwenye star 570 hash kuna ploti na ni up to 1.1 million Kenyan shillings with a genuine title deed na inakungoja star 570 hash ukana shake.
Wanapigana, anapiga yeye mngumi, anamwambia wewe unaniharibia boma.
Kwa kuna bali nirusha ngumi. Sijui kama ni mzee ama ni nini. Ngumi ikakwama, ukamata ile inaitwa kimunga.
Hiyo ni nini?
Sasa kuna.
Wewe ni wa dini gani?
Sema dini yako bwana.
Mwindi.
Nilisikia tu kofi imekuja tu. Nikasikia nimeona marundu. Kia kote nani? Kuja. Wewe. Kuja. Nifikeni.
Welcome back. The family of the Kenyan mountaineer Joshua Cheriot Kirui, who died during an expedition on Mount Everest, will require 25 million shillings to repatriate the body back to the country. According to BBC, Kirui's friend Kipkoi Limo had indicated that the deceased family had inquired whether Kirui had given consent for his body to be buried on Everest or wished for it to be brought back. The 40-year-old Kirui from Kericho is said to have gone missing near the summit of Mount Everest on Wednesday in the company of his guide after they reportedly attempted to climb the mountain without sufficient oxygen.
The passionate Kenyan mountaineer Cheriot Kirui was only 40 meters shy of reaching the summit of Mount Everest, according to reports. He is said to have gone missing near the summit of Mount Everest at Bishop Rock Point, which is at an elevation of 8,810 meters, 40 meters below the summit. The highest point of Mount Everest is at 8,850 meters or 29,035 feet. Mount Everest, located on the border of Nepal and China, is part of the Himalayas, a mountain system that stretches across 5 countries. He He was on an expedition to scale the summit of Mount Everest in the company of his guide Nawang Sherpa. Unfortunately, the two went out of contact with officials at the base. Himalayan Times, however, indicates that Nawang had managed to talk to the base officials and indicated that Kirui had refused to return and even consumed bottled oxygen but showed abnormal behavior. The two both went out of contact. Cheriot's body was later found a few meters below the summit point, where rescuers from 7 summit treks are said to have discovered it, according to base camp officials. The whereabouts of his guide Nawang Sherpa are still unknown. It is reported that Kirui, a corporate banking specialist and mountaineer, was on a daring mission to reach the summit without supplementary oxygen. According to the BBC, the Kenyan climber Cheriot Kirui, in an email before his expedition, had indicated that he had undergone extensive physical preparations. His death hitting hard the Kenya mountain climbing community, among other Kenyans who on Thursday took to X to condole with the family as well as praise him on some of his achievements, such as reaching the summit of Mount Manaslu of 8,000 meters peak without supplemental oxygen in the year 2023, ran marathons and ultra marathons. According to the BBC, it will cost the family 25 million shillings to bring the body home. A Romanian climber and a British climber and his Nepalese guide were also found dead on Tuesday, according to the Himalayan. Mount Everest is the highest of the Himalayan mountains at 8,850 meters, equal to 29,035 feet, and is considered the highest point on Earth.
The Agriculture Ministry is now assuring farmers that there is enough quality fertilizers in the government stores and markets. Agriculture Principal Secretary Kiprono Rono, while appearing before the Senate Agriculture Committee, assured Kenyans the ministry had sealed loopholes that had led to the supply of substandard fertilizer. Meanwhile, the National Assembly Public Accounts Committee has given the State Department of Mining 1 month to provide a recovery plan for the long outstanding arrears owed by the various cement companies to the government.
The Senate Agriculture Committee invited the Agriculture Principal Secretary Kiprono Rono to engage on the status of the agriculture sector after the ministry was mad with allegations of supply of substandard fertilizer.
So what we have done is we address sort out the culprits. We have given out top dressing fertilizers to these farmers because we found that they had already used the fertilizers already, which were having small challenges. There was some nutritional values which were not there, and we have identified top dressing fertilizers to be the fertilizers which will sort out the missing nutrients. So as we talk now, we have covered around 95% by yesterday of the farmers who are affected.
The PS assuring farmers that there were enough quality fertilizers in government stores and the market.
Umezimba zile mashimo yalitumiwa na wale wakola, kwa sababu unajua kama hatunja zimba tutakuja kupata mbolea gushi tena ambao tena italeta mambo ambayo hayafai.
I want to assure you that we have now quality fertilizers in circulation in our stores, and we don't intend to get such a case going forward of our farmers getting fertilizers which are not meeting the standard.
The PS revealed the government was in the process of establishing the Agricultural Development Fund that will safeguard monies for farm inputs.
Long outstanding arrears.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly Public Accounts Committee has given the State Department of Mining 1 month to provide a recovery plan for long outstanding arrears owed by various cement companies to the government.
The outstanding amount was 1,050 million. So if you have received 715, then that's good progress.
I want to commend the works being done by the PS. Sincerely speaking, since he came to office, that was not a State Department on its own.
What is the recovery plan for the remainder? Is there a payment plan?
An officer who currently is following up on all these debts every month, following up, and if they don't pay, we just deny them some rights. Okay. And that's how we have been managing to correct.
Mining PS Elijah Mwangi also told MPs the ministry had gazetted 24 artisanal mining committees across the country that are critical in the issuance and renewal of licenses to minors. Gishoke Washira, Prime Edition.
Welcome back. It's now time for business. The Scrap Metal Council has suspended renewal of fresh issuance of scrap metal exports indefinitely. Those whose licenses are still valid have less than 3 months to trade in the business. Scrap Metal Council Chair Francis Mugo says the resolution is informed by an increase in cases of vandalism, especially on electricity infrastructure. The directive affects 41 licensed scrap metal exporters dealing in aluminium and copper.
Data from Kenya Power indicates that there were no cases of vandalism reported between January and May 2022 when the government banned scrap metal. However, immediately after the moratorium was lifted, 76 transformers worth 68 million shillings were vandalized between May and December 2022. As such, stakeholders have drawn a direct link between vandalism and the copper waste business.
All this vandalism that has been taking place, particularly on our energy infrastructure, that scrap that is gotten from the vandalized transformer, vandalized infrastructure, mainly it is exported.
To this effect, the Scrap Metal Council has indefinitely suspended scrap metal export licenses.
So we are not renewing. And even those that currently have their license valid, who are about 21 in number, they are remaining with less than 3 months.
This means no renewal or new license issuance will be made while those with valid licenses have less than 3 months to wind up their business. Within the 3 months, those still in business will be required to inform the council where they source their materials from.
We send our officers to go and do inspection and be able to understand where this scrap metal came from. Do they keep record? Are they in compliance with the law? Do they have yards? So we are able now to agree that they are not aiding vandal.
The council has condemned theft and vandalism of Kenya Power property and will be working in partnership with other stakeholders to rule out unscrupulous traders. The ban affects a total of 41 licensed aluminium and copper export traders. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
The 2024 Finance Bill's proposed motor vehicle circulation tax continues to elicit mixed reactions across the country. The tax is expected to increase the cost of owning and operating a vehicle in Kenya. And as Muse takes up the story, he looks at the potential impact of tax and what alternatives exist.
The National Assembly Finance Committee, chaired by Kimani Kuria, defended the motor vehicle tax introduced in the Finance Bill 2024, terming it an attempt to boost revenue for development and growth of the transport sector. The bill proposes a motor vehicle tax to be charged at 2.5% of the value of the vehicle annually. The tax is to be capped at a minimum of 5,000 shillings and a maximum of 100,000 shillings. However, industry players such as insurance intermediaries claim that creators of the bill have neglected key factors such as income growth in the economy. The association is worried that comprehensive policyholders will opt for cheaper third-party covers.
Now, when we have the state trying to introduce a 2.5% of the value of the vehicle as a amount to be paid every year for the value of the car, and already our clients are already seeing that this is a burden that has really affected them, then there's nothing positive you can expect as far as this motor vehicle circulation tax is concerned.
Car sellers are concerned that the new tax may lead to reduced sales. Lepilal Somoine, who sells foreign used cars, says the middle-class buyers may shy away from buying expensive vehicles to reduce the burden of paying more taxes at the moment of insurance renewal.
For a citizen who will buy this 2020 GLE, it will be more expensive for them to, a 2020 GLE is from around 18 million. Do 2.5% of 18 million. Do insurance is between 3.5 to 7%. Add on top of it. So you'll realize that Kenyans that wanted to buy a GLE, a Range Rover, all those luxury vehicles, will consider to buy more affordable vehicles.
Business analyst Mir Takar believes the tax will have a major negative impact on most players directly involved in the motor industry. He suggests exempting commercial vehicles, electric and locally assembled vehicles to encourage local production and boost e-mobility.
One of the ways in which it can perhaps be watered down is to exclude commercial vehicles from it. Of course, this would be a very wide-ranging category, and it would be prone to abuse. Two other categories that can be excluded from this tax in order to, drive uptake of vehicles in these categories is electric vehicles and locally assembled vehicles.
As public participation on the bill continues, this is what different Kenyans had to say.
Wasiongeze mwananchi ushuru. Hata hiyo kitu angari, si kwa nini walirudisha tena? Hiyo kitu kuanga miaka yote.
For it's not a crime to own a car or a matatu or any other thing. So I suggest that it should not be passed.
Most of the car owners in Kenya, we know very well, they acquire these cars through bank financing. So additional taxes to that, I think it is a burden.
Most Kenyans have different views on the proposed motor vehicle tax. Let's wait and see how this will unfold. Reporting for Prime Edition, I'm Ian Musa.
Thank you, Ian, for that report. NCBA Group made 5.3 billion shillings in net profit during the first 3 months of this year, compared to 5.1 billion shillings in a similar period last year, boosted by improved operating income and lower loan loss provisioning. The lender's operating income rose 2.8% to 16 billion shillings, while credit loss provision reduced 31% to 1.4 billion shillings.
The lender says customer deposits increased 9.7% to 548 billion shillings. In addition, total assets increased 10.5% to 695 billion shillings, which enabled NCBA to disburse 232 billion shillings in digital loans through platforms such as Loop, M-Shwari and Fuliza, representing a growth of 3.9%. This helped power up the operating income to 16 billion shillings, representing a 2.8% growth. However, cost efficiency prioritization pushed up the year-on-year operating expenses by 12%. Based on this, NCBA Group Managing Director John Gashora says the lender made 5.3 billion shillings in net profit during the first 3 months of this year, which is a 4.7% year-on-year increase. Gashora says, and I quote, "Despite a challenging operating environment, our diversified business model continued to demonstrate growth and resilience with a strong contribution from our digital business and stable performance from our regional banking subsidiaries." NCBA regional subsidiaries in Uganda, Tanzania and Rwanda delivered a combined 705 million shillings, representing 11% of group profitability, while the non-banking subsidiaries, including the investment bank, bank assurance, and leasing, all reported operating profit and contributed 4.9% of the group profitability. Gashora projects the business environment to benefit from the positive outcomes outlined in ongoing public and private sector economic policy interventions. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
The cost of electricity is likely to reduce from July this year on account of 71% cents per unit reduction in wholesale tariff and the decommissioning of the 3 thermal plants. Here is Warimon Jenga with the details.
The total installed electricity generating capacity in Kenya decreased from 3,321 megawatts in 2022 to 3,243 megawatts in 2023, attributed to a decline in generation from hydro and thermal energy. Thermal power accounts for 25% of the total installed capacity and has often been blamed for the expensive electricity. So far, 3 thermal power plants have been decommissioned, with the latest being Kipevu 1 diesel plant in Mombasa County that has a capacity of 60 megawatts.
Beginning July 1st this year, the base tariff will reduce from 17.1 to 16.39. Because of course the reason is we are decommissioning some plants, and also some of the other costs that we were paying will also exit this particular part. And then also from July 1st of 25, we are going, the tariff again will go down 16.08.
When it looks to electricity, we have been able to see a clear reduction in our bills, including the ones that you see on the tokens, on account of a reduction on the exchange rate, the foreign exchange adjustment as a pass-through, which has come down from a high of 6.4 shillings to 1.9 shillings today in your bills. So there has been a benefit that Kenyans have seen over the last 4 months.
Kenya plans to decommission Muhoroni gas turbine, which serves Western Kenya, once the power purchase agreement expires. Electricity supplies to the region is expected to be stable, powered by construction of the Lesource high voltage transmission line. They also spoke about the government-to-government deal involving importation of petroleum products.
There was an extension of this contract for 1 year. So this contract is supposed to end on 31st of December this year. Currently, we have 5 nominated oil marketing companies who receive these products on behalf of the country. So we have Gulf Energy, we have Galana, we have Oryx, and then we have Asharamis Energy, and a company called One Petroleum. And that pool will keep on increasing because initially we had 3 companies, 2 more were added. We expect more will be nominated as the transaction becomes de-risked.
Wairi Mujenga for Prime Edition.
Balin Shamala identified his passion for selling motor vehicles when a student at University of Nairobi. This was after trying his hands in different hustles, including masonry, professional football, and even working as a caretaker at a rental house. Today, the 31-year-old criminology and criminal justice graduate is a proud owner of a car bazaar specializing in high-end motor vehicles. Our reporter Ian Muse toured his motor yard and filed the following report on young and industrious.
We journey to the yard located in Nairobi County along Langata Road, where Auto Nation Car Bazaar, owned by 31-year-old Balin Shamala, exists. On site is something similar to a graphic studio. However, it's their office display where all official documentation is done. We head to the basement where the vehicles on sale are located for pitching and presenting to potential clients. They specialize in German-made vehicles, cutting across different classes to suit customers' needs. Shamala's team of 4 have come a long way as they started this dream while still in campus.
After finishing and graduating, we really tried outside being employed, but we saw it's wise, like it's not giving the way we want. And if you want to grow in life and you have limits, you see people say life begins at 40. So we saw it's wise we come together, work together.
Lepilal, Balin's colleague and associate, takes us through the entire business process from shipping of the vehicle at the coast to arrival at the yard in the basement.
You identify a car. Depending on the agreement you have with the auctioning company, you can pay a certain deposit, be it 20, 30 or 50. They release the car. The car is shipped to Kenya. Then upon landing in Mombasa, you pay the difference that you owe the Japan company. You proceed to pay Kenyan duty, proceed to do all the clearance, register the vehicle and bring it to Nairobi.
She says the motivation to join the industry was after identifying a gap in the market for German foreign used cars compared to their expensive zero-mileage new ones.
Most Kenyans who want good luxury vehicles can't buy showroom cars. They cannot afford zero mileage cars. So you'll find that it's cheaper for them to buy foreign used units that are in perfect condition at affordable prices.
The competition in the motor industry is tough and can sometimes be draining. However, Berlin shares to us some of his secrets behind being able to withstand and stay moving regardless.
When you get one priority client, you make sure that you deliver. Once you deliver, this business is all about day after the other, getting referrals, being honest, being a straight person. After a while, you will overcome.
Lepilal encourages females out there to chase their passion and career goals relentlessly, noting that if she can do it, you can do it too.
Don't shy off any space, not just the car dealership, any space that you feel like you can do it. You know you have the ability, you are equipped, you have the mental capacity to do it, pursue it.
Shamala says his decision to get married 4 years ago at the age of 27 has helped him to be responsible in business.
For me, I can say, as much as I had begun this business earlier, before getting her into my life, I can count the changes and the improvements.
He encourages young people, whether in college or after graduating, to remain focused on their passion.
Tujitume. Ukijituma, wengine wachie God, atamaliza.
This is a wake-up call to all young Kenyans out there to push themselves, knowing the sky is the limit. Reporting for Young and Industrious, I'm Ian Muse.
Story right there by Ian Muse. Now, Samburu County prides itself of playing host to special and exclusive 5 types of wildlife that include the giraffe, the Somali ostrich, and the Gravy's zebra. What sets this species apart is their adaptation to the semi-arid landscape of Samburu, showcasing unique physical characteristics as highlighted on tonight's Magical Scenes.
Welcome to Samburu National Reserve in northern Kenya. Visitors and residents alike have exceptional opportunity to witness the special 5 of Samburu in their natural habitat. The Samburu Special 5 refers to a distinctive collection of wildlife species found at the Samburu National Reserve.
They're special because you can only find in this part of the world. This is the reticulated giraffe, a very beautiful giraffe compared to what we have in the southern part of the equator. We have the Somali ostrich, which is also unique. We have the Besa oryx, we have the gerenuk, and the Gravy zebra.
The adaptation of these wild animals to the semi-arid landscape of Samburu is what makes them categorized the special ones at the Samburu National Reserve. For instance, the Besa oryx is a distinctive antelope that lives in dry regions and is mostly active in the morning when the sun is not scorching hot. The Besa oryx also has a magical surviving hack of digging a shallow hole for cooling off its body if there is no shade within reach, with its light fur also helping diffuse the desert heat. The Somali ostrich, found in northern Kenya, simply stands out as a distinct species in the large birds family. From the year 2014, only a few of them exist and are only found in northern Kenya. This bird is mostly identified by its grey-blue neck and thighs. The reticulated giraffe, on the other hand, is also known as the Somali giraffe, and it remains an endangered species in the giraffe family, with about 8,000 of them remaining globally. Their striking red hides, divided by a jigsaw pattern of white lines, make the giraffes blend well with the Samburu red-backed earth. The Gerenuk is classified as the cutest antelope owing to its outstanding features such as giraffe-like neck adapted to dry regions. Unlike most antelopes, Gerenuk stands on its hind legs and uses the front legs to graze from the tree, and mostly survives on water available in the plants, and at times it can even stay without water for a couple of months. The Grevy's zebra are about 2,000 left in the wild. Unlike other zebra species, the Grevy's zebra's stripes are narrow and claws set. This zebra can go up to 5 days without water. Nevertheless, Samburu stands out among the beautiful reserves with hidden gem from the vast game experience and places to put up while on a visit.
We also have culture of our people, which is another unique thing. You know, sometimes when you go to the US and you say you are from Kenya, they might not be able to recognize you. But when you say you are a Maasai or Samburu, they say, so you are from that country of beautiful people. We call ourselves butterfly people because of the many beautiful colors that people wear and the beadworks that they put on. So it's very easy to recognize our people just because of that beauty that surrounds them.
The wildlife adds touch of exclusivity to the region, making a visit to the northern part of Kenya worth to spend for. Irene Mchuma Udim, Magical Sense in the county of Samburu.
Now, Young and Industrious has become quite popular, with a lot of interest coming from you and especially the youth on entrepreneurship. We do have an interview coming up shortly on nurturing entrepreneurial skills coming after the break.
Shamba ni mbili, yako ni gani? Kwenye star 570 hash. Every 100 shillings unayotumia kwa Lucky Game inakupa 1 entry point ya kuingia kwenye drum ya draw, ambayo inakupa fursa ya kujishindia moja kati ya shamba hizi mbili. Mwisho wa April namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings na unapata title deed yako safi. Na mwisho wa Mei namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, lori za mawe na mchanga. Ploti ndizo hizi. Dial star 570 hash. Title deed ndio hii. Vuka na shake.
The cause to reform the global financial architecture is gaining traction the world over. Here in Africa, Kenya is leading in this push. But the question is, will world powers yield to these demands?
It is a conversation that will continue, but I think our president has done very well and is providing that leadership even as he travels abroad. He keeps really hammering this point that we really need to see how to reform the international financial architecture. Both the IMF, World Bank, the African Development Bank Group, and others.
This week on Inside the Government, we're talking to the Principal Secretary in the State Department, Finance and Treasury, Dr. Chris Kiptoo. Our conversation will revolve around the upcoming annual general meeting of the African Development Bank, the agenda, and the expected outcomes. Watch this conversation right here on KBC Channel 1 with me, O'Brien Nyamai.
The Mozartbet Cup gets to the semi-final this Sunday, May 26th. KCB will lock horns with Kariobangi Sharks. Kenya Police will play FC Leopards. Follow the action live on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. Today we will be talking about entrepreneurship. We always get so many questions after the segment of young and industrious, and today we had a fantastic story, and we have in studio Professor Washington Okeo. He is the Vice Chancellor of Management University of Africa. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. I want to first ask you about recently we saw you in State House and receiving the charter. What does this mean for the university, and what changes are we now seeing in the university?
Thank you very much, Cynthia, and say good evening to the viewers.
Yes.
I'm happy to be in KBC tonight. And going back to the question that you've asked about the charter, the charter is, I would call it the epitome that every university aims to achieve.
Yes.
And it is a sign of maturity for a university. Although the journey towards attaining a charter is not like a walk in the park, it's actually very, very tough.
Yes.
The universities that take several years, over 20 years or so. Our university, the Management University of Africa, took about 12 years to attain the charter status. But importantly, before a university attains a charter, there's what we call the letter of interim authority, which a university is granted by the Commission for University Education to allow a university to operate as a university, admit students and teach them and graduate them. Operating with a letter of interim authority is like in the old system we used to have what we call the Harambe secondary schools.
Yes.
That is the foundation of the secondary schools at that time. As a university operating with a letter of interim authority, there are limitations. And there's a lot of supervision that comes from the Commission for University Education, which is the regulator of university education in Kenya. In order to achieve a charter status, a university must demonstrate that it is capable of standing alone on its own as an independent university.
Yes.
And this requires that a university develops a main campus. According to the regulations, the main campus is supposed to be on a 50-acre piece of land at minimum. It can be more. And indeed, our university, we have over 80 acres that we have developed our main campus on. In terms of developing the main campus, therefore, a university must put into place what we call a huge administration block, where the administration of the university programs and activities are being done from. In addition, there must be a library with well equipped with all the books and all the reading materials that are required by students. There need to be adequate lecture rooms. There need to be a student center. There need to be student, sports facilities and other recreational facilities. And there should be a clinic where students can go to get treatment in case they require. So all that has to be put in place before a university can get a charter.
Yes.
And of course, there have to be adequate programs being offered by the university at various levels. And there have to be commensurate number of lecturers, qualified lecturers, in terms of those who are qualified with PhD, and those who are qualified at associate professorship level, and also at full professorship level.
Yes.
So those have to be adequate, and there are standards which the Commission has put in place to ensure that when they come to do inspection for our charter, that all these must be adhered to, and that they must be up to the right standards as have been prescribed by the Commission.
Yes.
So that is basically the bare minimum.
Yes.
Now, getting a charter, therefore, means that a university has achieved all this set by the Commission. And for the Commission to ascertain that this has been achieved by a university, the Commission does what we call technical inspection.
Yes.
And in our university, the Management University of Africa, we inspected 4 times. The first inspection was in 2015, and we were told, a few other things to do. Then the second inspection was 2018, and again, the Commission made recommendations for us to implement.
Yes.
Then we implemented those, and come 2020, they again came for another inspection, and still recommended a few things to be improved. Then come 2022, they came for the inspection, and this time it was the final inspection.
Yes.
They found that we had already met all the requirements to be awarded the charter.
Yes.
So it was just a matter of time,
Yes.
depending on the president's diary and other factors.
Yes.
Then they would tell us when they would award us the charter. So this day came on May 2nd, 2024.
Yes.
When now we were called to State House to be awarded the charter.
Yes.
Award of charter
Yes.
is, or rather the charter itself is a document which shows the status of the university and shows the governance structure of the university,
Yes.
shows the programs of the university, shows the staffing of the university,
Yes.
shows the facilities that the university has, and also shows the commitment that a university has
Yes.
to be able to provide learning services and other services to its students or stakeholders
Yes.
who are the students.
Yes.
And so that is one. The other item in the charter is what we call a MACE. A MACE is like the authority of a university. It's what gives the university the authority to be able to graduate students. Every official function of the university cannot be done if the MACE is not there. So that is the second thing. The third thing is the logo of the university, which gives the university its identity.
Yes.
So that when somebody sees that logo, then it knows this is Management
tell,
University of Africa.
Yes.
And then the fourth one is the seal of the university.
Yes.
So those are the items which were granted to the Management University of Africa on May 2nd.
Yes.
And so that set now the pace for us now to move from the letter of interim authority status to the fully chartered university status.
Yes.
Now, the charter itself comes with a number of things to the university. First of all, it comes with authority. The university becomes, has its own authority to operate as a university.
Yes.
And then secondly, the charter comes with independence. Before the charter is awarded, like I said, the university has to be regularly inspected by the Commission to check whether they are still, maintaining the status according to the standards. But once the university is chartered, then it is independent now, no longer under the direct watch of the Commission, although it must adhere to the standards.
Yes, yes.
Then thirdly, there is the autonomy. The university becomes autonomous from all other institutions. It can, do its own affairs, does its own program development, writing, and teaching of the students. It can compare with other universities in terms of partnerships and collaborations, but it doesn't have to.
It runs independently.
Yeah, exactly. It does so very, very independently, makes its own independent, decisions.
Yes, you've been in the education system for a very long time and certainly preparing young people for the marketplace. But over the years, I'm sure you have noticed a lot of changes that has been going on in the job sector. What are the challenges that young people are facing at the moment as they get into the marketplace or trying to get jobs?
That's a very important question, Cynthia. Indeed, there's so many challenges that the young people are getting. One thing we've noticed is that we churn out so many graduates at the end of each year. And they go out there in the job market, they look for jobs, they don't get them.
Yes.
Some have looked for jobs for 10 years or even more, and they still don't get jobs.
Yes.
So they get extremely frustrated. there must be something which is not going right somewhere.
Yes.
And having discussed with the industry players, the people who own businesses and so on and so forth, they tell us that the graduates that you are giving, some of the graduates you are giving us, not all,
yes,
they are not fit, to work straight off. They have to spend some money to train them further,
yes,
to impart what we call, soft skills,
yes,
to enable them to be able to work in the industry.
Yes.
And so there's that disconnect. And that disconnect needs to be addressed. It comes as a result of, first of all, the upbringing, because the education at the university level alone cannot shape a student.
Yes.
That has to start from much earlier on, when the student goes to primary school, goes to secondary school or high school, then later on joining university. So it's a whole process. And I'm glad that the government has introduced the CBC kind of concept. That is a competency-based curriculum, which is now going to start imparting practical skills to the students at a much lower level. And so as the students mature and come to the university level, they already have the practical skills, they already have the proper pathways which they are specialized in, which they are capable in. So we just pick them up when they're already ready, to be now given much higher knowledge at a much higher level. And we think that with that in place, that is going to improve the employability of students. The other thing that universities must do, and our university is doing this, is to be able to impart soft skills, to the students, alongside the actual knowledge or specialized knowledge that they are learning, that they are being taught in the university. We need to prepare them, and we are preparing our students at the Management University of Africa in terms of imparting additional soft skills, which are not necessarily specialist knowledge. Special soft skills, for example, ICT, for example, leadership, for example, how to work, in a work setting, so that when they go out there, they can be able to, start working straight away. One of the ways we do this is through industrial attachment. We make sure that we attach our students to the industry, and it is a must for every student, graduating from Management University of Africa to have undergone industrial attachment, and this helps them get exposed to the real working environment, so that they are able to relate, the theoretical knowledge that they have learned in the universities to how to apply it, in practice when they go out there. The other approach that we use is what we call community service. Our students must go through community service before they can be able to graduate. It's a must. And the idea of being, able to do community service is related to giving the students the opportunity to be aware that there are people out there in the society who are not very well endowed with either resources or are not in situations where they can earn their livelihood as they would like to, live their livelihoods as they would like to. So they go to do community service in places like hospitals, in places like children's homes, in places places where the people out there are not very okay in the society per se. Then, in addition to that, we also train our students to be job creators, to be creative and innovators through entrepreneurial, ideas. And how we do this is in our university, literally every program, every area of specialization that a student does, they must do entrepreneurship. So all the students in the university take a course on entrepreneurship.
And how ready is one after just finishing university to actually go out and start a business?
Yes, that is exactly what I was leading to, Cynthia, because in entrepreneurship, there is the process of creativity and innovation. And when students do creativity, and innovate, their own products, their own businesses, and so on, they learn how to create their own businesses. And that is the process that we go through in the university. We have the Innovation and Incubation Center. In the Innovation and Incubation Center, we train students on how to nurture the ideas that they may have. And we take them through the process of idea creation, idea generation, into creating prototypes, into modeling those prototypes and testing them within the university, and before testing them out in the real commercial environment. And we found that this helps the students themselves have the need or acquire the ability to be able to create products. And there are students who have come up with very interesting innovations. In fact, one of our students recently showcased his innovation in Dubai. In Dubai, and he won some money from that, showcasing his innovation in Dubai. And that innovation is currently being commercialized. It's a payment system which basically rivals the M-Pesa sort of payment system. And so those are the kind of innovations that come out of the university. And what we have realized is that students are much more interested in coming up with their own, products, with their own companies, creating their own jobs, because they're aware that in a lot of sense, several students graduate, but then they end up looking for jobs in vain and for a very long time.
So now they have an alternative.
Exactly.
Looking at the marketplace, how would you say IT and especially now AI has changed the marketplace?
Yes. ICT has actually come a long way in the marketplace and also in the education system in this country. ICT came in as an area of specialization earlier on, where ICT was sitting somewhere on a corner somewhere, and businesses and business people would go and pick ICT and employ it in their organizations. But with the time, ICT changed. Now the people who are the so-called users of ICT are now the people who are driving, ICT in their organizations. So much so that ICT has become part and parcel of the business itself. Businesses cannot do without ICT. And in that regard, therefore, it is important to ensure that students learn ICT as part of their courses. And in our university, the Management University of Africa, we have our students, learn ICT as part of their courses, even if they're not doing ICT, even if their courses are not related to ICT. They do courses then with ICT. In other instances, we also offer short ICT trainings. For example, International Computer Driving License, or the so-called ICDL. We have that. We have software development courses. We have networking courses. We have computer hardware maintenance and repair courses that we have alongside, the areas of specialization that our students, learn or specialize in their degree programs. Artificial intelligence, you mentioned artificial intelligence, is an old thing, but has just blossomed all of a sudden in the recent past, although it has been there for a very long time. And it's a revolutionary sort of idea around how ICT can be used, both in the academics and also in the industry. For example, in the universities, students are using artificial intelligence to do their projects, to write their reports, to write their projects and their thesis and so on and so forth. At first, it seemed like artificial intelligence is coming in sort of in a way that it may not enable the student to use his own original ideas, to do all this. But used in the right format and in the right way, it can be a very, very useful tool
Yes.
To write reports, to write projects, to do research, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And the way one can do that, and we encourage our students to do that, is to basically use it to get the outline, so that the student knows. Because ChatGTP, for example,
yes.
Artificial intelligence component of ChatGTP is very good in generating the outline, so that you can know the various areas and topics and subheadings and so on of a particular area of research that you're doing.
Yes.
And then it generates some content which is not very well researched, should I say, because it doesn't have references within it.
So they have to research.
Exactly. So once the student can pick up, and even lecturers, once they can now pick up the the subheadings and the headings that have been generated in ChatGTP, then they can use that now to go out and research in books, or even design research which they can do in the field.
Yes.
To collect data and sort of analyze and then write the full report thereafter.
Yes.
So it's really a question of how the university guides the learners on how to use artificial intelligence concepts and also the ChatGTP component, which is more relevant in academic setting.
Yes.
The other aspects of artificial intelligence which are used to in the daily lives, okay? But those are not so well developed in this country as yet.
Yes. Thank you so much, Professor Washington Okel, for joining us today. Now, you did hear it is about preparing the students for the marketplace, and it's changing every single day, especially with ICT and even the economies of different nations, including right here in Kenya, where we have been seeing a lot of young people who cannot find jobs want to start their own businesses. Up next, we will be having sports.
There we see the tension and drama will be ratcheted up.
Tie done and dusted. And Ceci does watch it go over the line this side. It's a mistake by the defender and he's
in. Sports News is brought to you by Mozart Bet.
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Prime Edition Sport. 800 meters world record holder David Rudisha will be among Athletics Kenya team that will take part in an invitational climate change workshop organized by the World Health Organization on the 26th of this month in Geneva, Switzerland. The workshop, dubbed Walk the Talk, Health for All Challenge, will also be graced by Cote d'Ivoire football legend Didier Drogba.
Athletics Kenya was the first World Athletics Member Federation to sign and commit to action on the United Nations Sports for Climate Action Framework after witnessing how sporting activities have been affected by climate change during the Doha and Tokyo marathons. Athletics Kenya President retired Lieutenant General Jackson Tuwei said they are implementing climate change through the Athletics for Better World Standard by eliminating plastic and monitoring air quality to promote good health for all.
When the athletes run, they need clean air. They need a place where there is no pollution. They need a place where there is no carbon emission. So we all need to pull together and make sure that we succeed in some of these challenges that we are facing today, so that our athletes can do well.
Athletics Kenya signed the United Nations Sports for Climate Action Framework on 13th August 2021.
It's also important to understand the event in Geneva is Walk the Talk, which is a public awareness campaign to showcase the threats that air pollution and climate change are impacting on health.
The initiative of Air Quality Project has been implemented in 14 stadiums and sports facilities in 6 African countries, namely Kenya, Senegal, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Zambia and Uganda. King Orimwangi for Prime Edition Sports.
And SportPesa has affirmed its partnership with Kenya's rugby legends in a deal that will see the former top flight players receive 2 million shillings in sponsorship ahead of their double-header against their Ugandan counterparts. The collaboration consolidates a future where experience converges with talent to inspire and uplift the next generation of rugby stars. Last year, the Kenya Legends won 38-6 in the away trip to Uganda before picking a 31-12 victory at home to clinch the 2023 Legends Cup. The Kenyan squad has the likes of Shujaa icon Collins Injera, Lavin Asego, George Mbaye, Oscar Sudi, Moses Mukabane and Captain Eddie Omondi, and will play the first leg on the 8th of June at the Kings Park Arena in Kampala.
We are trying to relive our memories and also just promote the game of rugby.
We've been patient enough to slowly grow this to where it is. And for us, it's really an augmentation of what Nondis as a club also does.
We'll be participating very actively in the rallying call to ensure that the fans just come out in large numbers, both in the Uganda and even the Kenyan leg, to help support the game and just help cheer some of the people that they helped cheer even 10, 20 years ago.
Kenya National Rally Championship, the Guru Nanak Rally, will also serve as the ARC Equator Rally, which was rescheduled due to the erratic weather conditions in the country. The Equator Rally, which was scheduled to run at the end of June, will now be held from the 30th of November to the 1st of December this year, according to the latest bulletin from the Kenya Motorsport Federation. In the meantime, rally drivers are preparing for the third round of the Kenya National Rally Championship, set to be held in Nanyuki from the 29th to the 30th of June this year. Veteran Carl Tundo leads the standings in the KNRC after 2 rounds with 39 points after having won the KNRC Safari Rally. Saman Vohra won the Eldoret Rally, second with 33 points, followed by Minesh Rathod with 29. Defending Kenya National Rally champion Jasmine Chana is fourth with 26 points, followed by Josiah Karaoke, who has 25. The national men's kabaddi team will leave the country tonight ahead of the 2024 Bangabandhu Club Cup slated for the 26th of May to the 4th of June in Bangladesh. The team will have 5 elite professionals, among them James Kamweti from Kiambu Plackers, Samuel Wafula from Kitale Fortunes, and David Mosambai from the University of Nairobi Tigers. Junior players from the Kenya Academy of Sports, Danson Bori, Geoffrey Mwangi, Ryan Neville, and Tobias Muredi also made the cut in the travelling contingent. Kenya, a 2-time silver medalist at the tournament, will be going for nothing short of gold this year. The team has been in residential training at the Kenya Academy of Sports and the Kasarani Stadium for the last 3 months. And the 2024 NCBA Golf Series is set to make a return this weekend at the Muthaiga Golf Club, who will host the 6th leg of the series. Over 200 golfers are expected to take part in the series at the Muthaiga Golf Course, renowned for its challenging Par 71 layout. The golfers will be vying for the coveted slots to compete in the grand finale of the series later in the year. The slots will be awarded to the Division 1 male and female winners, Division 2 male and female winners, and the overall winner of Division 3 and the top performer in the junior class. Meanwhile, the NCBA US Kids Golf Fall Local Tour Tournament continues this weekend at the same venue, with at least 186 junior golfers aged between 5 and 18 years expected to participate. International Ademola Lookman became the first ever African player to score a hat-trick in a European final as Italian side Atalanta became the newly crowned Bundesliga champions Bayer Leverkusen 3-0 to win the UEFA Europa League final at the Aviva Stadium. Lookman is now the second player after former Bayern Munich manager Jupp Heynckes in 1975 scored 3 times in a Europa League when it was known as the UEFA Cup. which was unstoppable as the Dallas Mavericks beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 108-105 in the opening game of the NBA's best-of-7 Western Conference Final. Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals will be played on Friday in Minneapolis.
Inside. Dallas Mavericks and Minnesota Timberwolves exchanged leads multiple times in a seesaw final quarter as Anthony Edwards' 24-foot three-pointer gave the Timberwolves a 102-98 advantage with just under 4 minutes to go. But 8 unanswered points from the Mavericks, including a step-back jump shot from Doncic, put them back in the lead before sealing the victory. Slovenia's Doncic top scored with 33 points, including 15 in the final quarter as the Mavericks gained fast advantage in the best-of-7 series. Kyrie Irving also scored 30 points for Dallas, with 24 of them coming in the first half in Minneapolis. Jaden McDaniels led the scoring for the Timberwolves with 24 points, while Edwards added 19.
And that's the sport for tonight. Thank you for being with us. My name is Daniel Wahome. Back to Cynthia Nyamai after this short commercial break.
Sports News was brought to you by Mozart Bet.
You can lift the plane. The higher you fly, the higher your win. The sky is the limit. Mozart Bet.
Well, sports marks the end of tonight's bulletin. From me and the rest of the team, we do want to wish you a very good night.
Watch the Mozart Bet Cup as teams from both the top tier and lower tier battle for the ultimate prize of representing the country in Africa's CAF Confederations Cup. Catch all the action live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, beginning with a round of 16 matches, the quarter-final, semi-final and the final. Mozart Bet Cup, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner. On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.